Hello, warriors. Welcome to the Warrior Scholar Tang Soo Resource Podcast. I am Dan Segara, and this is our latest episode. I am just trying to see if everything's working smoothly. Okay, we're looking good. All right, let's get on with the show now. Some housekeeping. Let's go over what we're covering today. Um, we were supposed to have Master Daniel Bannard, my first instructor, on live with us today. But man, Snowmageddon Part 2 hit New York, and we got hit with 2 feet of snow, which in just one overnight mess, and it was an absolute disaster. It's been very rough as a studio owner because classes have been impacted by that, business has been impacted by that. Just everything rippled out from that. So Master Band and I spoke, and we're going to push that off till next week because he got hit with a little bit, but we got buried over here, and that threw just everything out of whack. So our first live guest will be next week, next Friday, 2 o'clock, same time. And so that's the thing there. We got buried again, and it's I hope that's the end of it. Okay. So some of the I put a poll up in the let me see if we got anybody in the chat here. Nope, that's not the chat. Let me see how we're doing on YouTube here. And okay, I'm just checking, making sure live. Okay, all right, we're definitely live on YouTube, but I'm not showing my YouTube chat here. There we go. That's the chat I want to see. And nope, that's not it either. Okay. Let me do a test here. Test. There we go. All right, that cleared it out. Okay, so YouTube, if anyone wants to jump in. Oh, Brian, man, I can always count on you, man. Good job. Good afternoon, Brian. I was just explaining about the Snowmageddon that we had in New York. Let me get this chat back up here. There we go. I can see it now. So I did a poll, and basically I had asked, if you feel 3 blog posts a week is too much, not enough, etc., etc. And I'm a voracious learner, so I'm going to keep it at 3 for a little while longer, and we'll see, because it's really not 3 in the sense that it's 3 of the same thing. The first one is translating the Tao Te Ching with a Tang Soo mindset and viewpoint, as Grandmaster Wang He wanted us to. So that's an ongoing series that we're on the 3rd one. The second blog post is usually geared towards instructors and studio owners, to give them some ideas and kind of, share some thoughts with studio owners. And then the third blog post is typically like the general state of Tang Soo. So, I think, keeping it those 3, because guys that aren't studio owners won't read the second blog post, but that would help them. And then, so that kind of cuts it down to 2 for your average Tang Soo folks anyway. And then some that are not interested in learning about the Tao Te Ching yet, then they're down to 1 blog post actually a week. So that's my mentality with that. So with that, let's take a look at. Let me get rid of. Why is this showing up on the screen here? Okay. All right. So the third, man, I got like 3 screens here. Guys, pardon me, because I'm always learning a new feature. And while I'm learning a new feature, when we click a button in here, sometimes we get some extra stuff here. So all right, so the Tao of Tang Soo basically is about humility, and this particular chapter. And the idea meaning that Tang Soo is not about rank obsession, comparing ourselves, our organizations, or even our art to others, external validation. So that's what chapter 3 is about. It's about humility, and just walking the path and training, and staying focused on the path, and not all these shiny things that are around it, that can get in your head, and you can get attracted by that. An interesting thing, Grandmaster Wonky said, when doing certain mental training, and I always thought this was interesting, and it's one of those things that it's tricky too, because it could really, you can misinterpret something, or interpret something, and go really way off on a tangent with some of his writings. That's why it's so important that it be done right. But he had mentioned with one of the meditation methods in his book that when you reach a certain level, beautiful maidens will appear, and things like that. And what he means by that is certain distractions, temptations, and things like that will appear to pull you off the path. And it's important that you stay centered, and stay the course, and not be drawn off the path by rank, and like I said, the shiny things. So that's part of what chapter 3 in the Tao Te Ching talks about. So you want visibility over substance, and you want wisdom over the noise that's out there. And especially with today's times, there's so much noise. It's crazy. If you just saw the State of the Union, it was quite the show. So as martial artists, we want to stay the course and walk the path, and that's what chapter 3 in the Tao Te Ching is back. So I highly recommend you read that, because Grandmaster Wang Ki wants you to, otherwise he wouldn't have put it in his book. Okay, so second thing we want to talk about is, and I don't know how I got this third window here, which I now have to, let me see if I can get rid of that. There we go. Was learning with an open mind. So that one was geared more towards instructors. Now, what that means is not to just grab everything out there and put it in your curriculum, because some things aren't going to gel perfectly with our foundation. But at the same time, he says that you have to keep an open mind, and absorb things that, like Bruce Lee said, absorb what's useful. So, he's talking about, our art should grow, should evolve, and not get stuck because it's just for the sake of tradition, but at the same time, not to sacrifice our philosophy. So, in the resource, we call that the anchor and the compass. Our identity is our anchor, but our philosophy is our compass. And, you have to navigate, today's, unique times and unique situations. So that's what he's talking about when he says, keep an open mind, or learn with an open mind. So the quote is actually, learn new things and methods with an open mind. Always be willing to learn and explore new methods. Avoid clinging too rigidly to the old ways. Think about that. You're talking about a super traditionalist and saying this. As society evolves, martial arts too must grow. But here's the kicker. You want to grow, but not sacrifice your identity. And that's where, changing things like, your uniform is your identity, right? And too many changes in that. The belts are kind of our identity too. We see a lot of different kind of belts now in Tang Soo. There's red stripes, there's double red stripes, there's gold stripes, there's triple red stripes, there's all kinds of different belts. Grandmaster Wonky wore a midnight blue belt with a red stripe. Pretty much, if that was good enough for him, it's good enough for me. But you do you, and you do what you need to do. But just keep in mind this quote from Kwangjin Chang Shijia. And he goes, however, never discard foundational principles. That's your anchor. New methods should be examined, tested, and then integrated wisely with traditional teachings. So it has to, blend with what you do. Like certain judo throws, for example. We have in Tang Soo, we've had Korean judo masters. Because some of them had to study that in school. There was some hapkido crossover in Tang Soo. That's why you see some of these, wrist lock techniques. And as we get further into the future, arts tend to seem to blend, almost like you're seeing MMA now, where you're seeing, grappling, striking, Thai boxing, kicking, jujitsu, submissions and so forth. So Tang Soo has always been a kind of an MMA, Okinawan, Japanese, Korean, Taekyon, Northern and Southern, Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Sorum Jangwan. These are all arts that blended into our art. But, as martial artists, we don't want to get pigeonholed into one particular way of doing things. We don't want to be just a grappler. We don't want to be just a striker. We don't want to be, just pigeonholed into one of those things. I break this down into the types of fighters. We have A, B, C, and D, right? A is what we want to be, but we're going to go from D, work our way back. D is what I call the dancer. They move around a lot. Muhammad Ali would kind of fit into that category. Amazing footwork. Sugar Ray Leonard, Bruce Lee, even kind of. Very good, and he was a cha-cha, champ. Then C's the counter fighter. That's more like Mike Tyson, where he's bobbing, weaving, and coming in, and constantly pressing forward, and counter fighting. Then you have B. B's the bull. Now Tyson kind of fits into that category as well, but B's the bull, like Sammy the Bull, not Sammy the Bull, Rocky Marciano. Rocky, that's Queens coming out. Sam, that's a terrible guy. Rocky Marciano, and even in the film Rocky, he's more of a bull. But if you noticed in this when in the later Rocky film, when he had to fight Clubber Lang, he had to be a counter fighter, where he would take the hit and then counter, and that's how he tired out Clubber Lang. So we have the dancer, we have the counter fighter, we have the bull, and then we have the A, which is the adaptable fighter. That's the one that can be a bull when he needs to, or she needs to, be a counter fighter and be a dancer. So, it's like rock, paper, scissors. They're coming at me with some energy. I don't want to meet it with that energy unless I, have a higher level of that energy. So, somebody might come at me as a bull, and I might need to be a dancer for that moment and get out of the way. Somebody might come at me and wait for me to attack. Well, that's where I've got to, fake and apply fakes to get, my strikes in, because they're waiting for me to do something to counterattack. So that kind of fits into the dancing category as well. So you have adaptable, bull, counterfighter, and dancer. So we need to, make sure we're good in all of those categories, which means, Hoshin Soul isn't just wrist locks. Hoshin Soul is grappling as well, throwing as well, and fighting on the ground as well. So, that's that's an important part of our training. I think that's an area we need to maybe work on a little bit more. We tried to do that when I did Tang Soo TV. Tang Soo TV, we had an actual ground fighting section and submission section. And it was a great project, and I'm proud of it. I wish we could have continued it more. But it was a lot of work, getting video in and editing that video, getting video from different people and stuff. It might be something I might be interested in doing again in the future, once the resource kicks off, and do that. Hello, OWAIS 146. Don't know who you are. Maybe you can throw your name in there. I could give you a shout out. So that we want to make sure that we're well versed in all ranges, because you'll find yourself in any of those ranges. I mean, if you're a great kicker and then somebody gets past that kicking range, you better have the hands now. And if you don't have good kicks, then you better know how to use your hands well enough to and get in on a kicker. So those ranges in Korean we call it changgiri, chunggiri, and dangiri. Changgiri is a long range, chunggiri is a middle range, and dangiri is a short range. You got to be ready to go in all. Master Sabia's here. Cool, awesome, brother. So you got to be ready to go in all ranges, and and that's an important part. So getting back to a compass and an anchor. Grandmaster Wong Kee said, learn with an open mind. But again, you just can't grab a technique from another art, throw it in your curriculum, and say, and it has to gel. Boxing is a perfect example. Boxing has some amazing hand techniques, but at the same time, the way a boxer loads and unloads, that could also, and their stance is a little different than in our Tang Soo, and it can kind of conflict with the kicking a little bit. So there needs to be an adjustment in the kicking stance and the boxing stance so the two can marry well together. So, and that takes experience to put that in there, because you don't want to kind of, shifting gears is okay, but you don't want to grind the gears. And that's like when you're doing like a round kick and a round kick and a round kick and a round kick. It's very hard to shift gears from one side to the other. Whereas if you do a front kick, a round kick, then a back kick, those things kind of blend together well. So, learning to take a technique from another source, and implementing it into your training is a good thing, and Wong Kee recommends it, but you have to do it thoughtfully. Okay, so that was the Learn with an Open Mind blog, and which now gets us to is Tang Soo dying? And this is a kind of a controversial thing, and I gave a lot of thought to this. Nobody wants to put a blog post up like that, but it takes courage to do these kind of things, because over the years, honestly, I have seen all organizations shrink. I don't want to name organizations, but most of the big ones have shrunk, and some shrunk dramatically, because there's no, if you're not, like Grandmaster Wong Kee said, evolving as an organization, then you're not growing. So I don't think the art's dying. I think it could if we don't take care of it, like Grandmaster Wong Kee said. So Umi means loyalty and duty, and your duty to your art is, I'm going to switch to this screen here because I made some key points on this. Your duty to your art is positive energy in class, supporting your studio, supporting your organization. You might not agree with everything your organization does, but it's important that you support your organization, and it's also important that you support each other. I go to other Tang Soo events and of any Tang Soo organization that invites me, because I want to show the support for that. So, but as instructors, it's key that, number one, students get results. So if you're saying, I can't tell you how many masters I know that behave great on the floor and then absolutely, don't behave very masterfully outside the studio. And you know, if you're teaching and you're preaching, you've got to walk the talk. So, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. My students know that. I make fun of myself all the time. But, we've got to be the product and the result of our training. So it's important that, you know, the students get results. So if we're promising that they're going to, it's going to help them relieve stress, we've got to show them how it can relieve their stress, not just say, it relieves stress. Okay, everybody meditate, and and then okay, you by osmosis, you're learning to relieve your stress. Yeah, you can, but it's more important that we directly show them how. One of the things I do, I teach my students very simple. One of the stressful things I find is driving the car because there's so many rude people on the road. So, one of the things I tell them to do is every time I hit a red light or I hit a stop sign, I've trained myself to take a breath and breathe out and make sure I'm not having stress building up. If someone cuts me off, again, I feel that tension and I breathe, I press it out. So if you're driving with me, sometimes you might, see me drive, we can have a normal conversation, but then you'll see me, and that just meant somebody did something stupid. You didn't catch it, but I'm letting it go. So, we've got to give them the results. If we're telling them it's going to help them more focused, and get more focused, or help the kids become more confident, there has to be, obvious results for that. And, those things are built from small successes. So it's important in class that, we catch students when they have a small success, point that out to them, and then remind them that, that's why they're there, because that's, look, Johnny, I love the way, you did your form today. You were focused, and man, I could see, you were really confident, and, when you were doing that form, and, acknowledging that makes Johnny, you're showing Johnny that, hey, I see you. And, it's important that we acknowledge that. And if we acknowledge their successes, they might not even realize that they just had a success. But now by us acknowledging it, they're like, hell, hey, yeah, I didn't realize that. But yeah, that I agree. So, acknowledging that is important. To keep our art alive, we've got to be more active on social media. You got to comment, you got to like, you got to share, you got to subscribe. The algorithm puts out all this garbage, and our kids are it's just a landscape of all this, dumb things and influencers that, are terrible. I taught a camp, and this will blow your mind. I taught a camp. I had 25 kids in the camp. Never met these kids before. They came to my school. They would come to my school every Friday. And I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the overwhelming amount of kids, it was like 70% of them, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a YouTuber. That's what they said. And by the end of the camp, and I did not push them in any way, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And now most of them said a karate teacher, which that's, pretty powerful. So, and I didn't say who wants to be a karate. I didn't do anything like that. I just was, a fun instructor that supported them, and they felt that, and then they wanted to be like that. So it was just a natural progression to change influence them, in the right way. So, we've got to get on social media. We've got to put ourselves out there on social media too, because, like I said, we've got to walk the talk. So, when students see us, active, not just there, then they can think, well, look, he's working hard, she's working hard, I got to work hard too. Or, you might inspire people that are younger than you or your age. So getting active on social media. So putting yourself out there. You don't have to do something phenomenal. Just, put yourself out there, shooting, videos and or just photos and things like that, or whatever. Second is, liking and subscribing and commenting. You don't have to do a whole big long diatribe on every post that you see, nor should you. But you should turn around and just, say, hey, thanks for posting that. Because, again, that encourages the person that posted, but it also feeds the algorithm, shows the algorithm that, hey, people like what this person posted, and let me show this to more people now. That's how it works. So you're actually, watering the Tang Soo tree so it doesn't die on social media, at least by doing that. We don't want our art to die on social media, and think about it, it's not popping up in people's feeds unless you're involved in the art, but we want it to pop up in people's feeds. Look how Gracie Jiu-Jitsu kind of just like took the world by storm, and now they've got that momentum, and they're not just riding it, they are feeding it. Meanwhile, Tang Soo was the art back then. I mean, we had it all. We had most of the tournament champions, most of the movie stars, and then we didn't feed that, we didn't fuel that, and it's important now that we start feeding this algorithm. And yes, correct, Mike. Mike said, be the change. We need to be the change. So we need to support each other. We need to turn around and let me see if I get this chat up on the screen now. Can I do that? Let's see. Here we go. Showing the stream. Boom. Yeah, that's it. Yes. So yeah, we need to be the change, man. We need to set the example, support each other, like and support. We just don't want to be consumers. We want to be supporters. So it's our duty to our art, to do that. To be a caretaker, not a spectator. And there's too many spectators out there, and it's very, very, very important that we we water the tree, and we that's how our art grows. It grows with just like a bonsai tree, a flower. It needs chunggi and jiki. It needs heavenly energy and earthly energy, and sugi, water energy. So we have to keep like a good Mr. Miyagi, taking care of our Tang Soo bonsai, and get that energy out there, and also get other people involved in that and strengthen our culture that way. So some just to review for anybody that jumped on a little late, we were supposed to have a live guest today, but because of Snowmageddon 2026, and I got dumped 2 feet of snow, we pushed that back till next Friday. So I'll be having Master Bannard on, and we're going to talk about Tang Soo in the seasons. So, for example, we're kind of in the middle of winter. We still got March to go, but this spring is coming up pretty quickly. So, the 5-element theory, what we call Ohang in Tang Soo, in Palgwe. The Ohang of the Palgwe, Ohang means 5 elements. Palgwe means 8 directions. So together, 8 plus 5 is 13. That creates what we call the Ship Samse, right? The 13 energies or forms. So being aware of the seasons, because the seasons are basically our belt ranking system, right? Winter, early spring, spring, summer, and fall, white, orange, green, red, and midnight blue. And, feeding our body the proper way throughout and exercising the proper way each season. So the foods in spring should be different than the food you eat in winter. Winter you want to eat more warming foods. In Korean, there's a drink called sujeonghwa, which is Korean cinnamon tea. Basically, it's cinnamon and honey, and you can put. I have trouble saying this flour, permison flour in there too, and that's a typical Korean winter tea. Where in the summer and spring, they have a shikke, which is a rice punch that they drink. So you want to adapt your diet, and not only that, there's certain Mupalangum or warrior breathing exercises that you can do more particular numbers in the winter, and then higher reps of other ones in the spring and higher reps of other ones in the summer. So and then there's of course pressure points and self massage, different things that you can like rubbing your kidneys to help the kidney energy. So we're going to talk about that next week, kind of prepping for spring. So that's a pretty he's been pumping that into me for years. So I'm very happy to have him come on next week, and that might be the longest podcast that we'll have yet. And then every season, of course, we'll have him pop back in, and we'll prep for the next one. So that's pretty cool stuff. And we have some events coming up. April, we have Kwanjin Dominic Giacobbe's Atlantic City tournament. I'm going to be there. I'm going to bring some of my history books. Boodle the Mouse 1 and 2. Boodle the Mouse 2 is coming out. So I'm excited about that. That one's it's epic. And I meant to make that at least a trilogy, and then kind of keep the story ongoing with short stories. So if you don't know Boodle the Mouse is a character that I created about a mouse that snuck into a martial arts school and started copying everybody. And then it's a story about all kinds of bullying, leadership, overcoming challenges and so forth. And that we carry that on to and introduce new characters into book 2. So I'm pretty excited about that. Budo's coming back in this year. It's going to be not Year of the Horse, Year of the Mouse. So we're bringing Budo book 1 and 2 and the history book to Master Giacobbe's tournament. Strongly recommend it. It is an amazing event. It's up in Atlantic City. So, my wife and I usually go up. Obviously, we do the tournament. We usually go up Friday night. We do the tournament Saturday. Then we stay. And then Sunday, we enjoy Atlantic City in the boardwalk on Sunday. And then we head home later Sunday. So we make it a little mini vacation for us. Then in May, Charlie Ferraro, is having his tournament up in Connecticut. Again, another very well-run event. Highly recommended. I will be there for that as well. And if you have any tournaments coming up or any events coming up, let me know in the Tang Soo 2.0 group, and I will, try to work it into the podcast to let everybody know. And also, very important, everybody, make sure you not just like and subscribe, but spread the word to other people to like and subscribe. I'm not in my Dolbach today, and I apologize for that. I am actually at home because Snowmageddon is kind of throwing everything off this week. So next Friday, I will be in the Dojang and doing the podcast from there. I prefer to do it from there. I bought a brand new, nice microphone there too. I just ordered another one for here because I'm not crazy about how the audio's been on the podcast. So I bought a nice professional microphone at the studio, a new one, and I liked it so much I bought one for home here as well. So no matter where I do the podcast from, we're going to have great audio. So with that, if anybody has any questions, shoot them in the chat right now or any comments. I'll read them, and then we're going to wrap up soon. So Giacobbe in April, Ferraro in May, and Yeah, I know. I could put my top on, but it would just look weird in my living room here. So I'm getting called out for having my this is my outside dolbach versus my dojang dolbach. Next week we'll have the dolbach. And listen, I could AI it too, but want to be honest. So so let's support each other, please, because there's no other podcast here on Tang Soo. This is it. And this should have 5,000 subscribers, not 50. So let's bump this sucker up and get more and more people to know about it, because again, I want to support your events and support what you do, because if rising tide lifts all boats. We want Thank you, Brian. We want to raise our art, and if we put our collective energy together, we can really, people will be talking about Tang Soo, and not just other arts. It's crazy, because I said to my kids the other day in my kids class, I said, because I said there's a Bruce Lee stamp coming out, because we talked about that in the last podcast. I said, raise your hand if you know who Bruce Lee is, and nobody's hand went up, and I was like, oh, you're killing me. So, unfortunately, I listen. I'm so happy the Bruce Lee stamp came out, but it came out a little too late. So we've got to now educate everybody about Bruce Lee a little more. So, it wouldn't be bad if you guys put some Bruce Lee, fight clips on your social media pages, just to kind of get that out there. Interestingly, there's been some really amazing upgrades in some of the AI programs lately, and Bruce Lee has been popping up. They've got Bruce Lee fighting all kinds of different celebrities, and it's just mind blowing, man, where that's going with. Yeah, Master Bat, you really going to enjoy it, and it's I don't know if it's going to go off the rails with us too, because we have a great time. So it might go sideways. But yeah, well, Brian said to me when I posted about the Bruce Lee stamp, he goes, "We need a Chuck Norris stamp next," and I said, "Nothing, never going to happen, because nobody can lick Chuck Norris." So yeah, we'd love to see a Chuck Norris stamp too, but yeah. There was some talk about a Billy Jack movie getting redone, but unfortunately, Tom Laughlin, who I met just passing at one of these events one time, I was a big fan of Tom Laughlin, who wrote it, produced it, created it. He kept such tight control over the character that none of the studios wanted to, do a remake of it with him. And unfortunately, Tom Laughlin kind of really went off the rails with Jungian psychology and incorporating all of that, and really, got kind of stuck in that hippie, mindset over the years. And as much as I loved his movies, and he tried to hit you over the head with some messages, like Billy Jack Goes to Washington, and he did the filibuster there, and he kind of killed his own project. So, maybe I believe his wife is still alive, but hopefully, they'll, allow the character to get out there, and because, having a new Billy Jack would be awesome. I mean, think about it. I mean, it can almost be like a new Kung Fu, where you'd have Kane, instead of Kane, you'd have Billy Jack kind of, operating through society. Now, for those of you who don't know who Billy Jack is, Billy Jack was a movie that came out in the early 70s. And, it was a very powerful social message, anti-establishment message, but it had some really cool martial arts in it. And the person that dubbed, did the fight scenes was Bong Soo-han, a Hapkido stylist. And the most famous fight scene and most famous thing in that was Billy Jack says to the bad guy, "You know what I'm going to just do for giggles? I'm going to take this foot, I'm going to whop you on that side of your face." And the guy goes, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, really." And he goes, "There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." Whop! He hits him with an inside-outside kick. Great. One of my favorite all-time moments there. So yeah, Billy Jack. But there are some really good martial art movies coming out. I'm glad you kind of got me on the Billy Jack track there, Brian. Mortal Kombat, a new Mortal Kombat movie's coming out. I wrote some of these down, because if you're just a fan, that's great. If you're a studio owner, you might be able to parlay that into some, here we go, into some, attention for your studio. So let's take a look here. We got Mortal Kombat in May. And and then you have The Mandalorian. And then in June, you have Masters of the Universe, Disclosure Day. Looking forward to that. Supergirl, Toy Story 5. July, Minions and Monsters, Moana, Spider-Man. August, Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles. So you have Mortal Kombat in May. In August, you have Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles coming out. And then in October, you have Street Fighter. The video game Street Fighter is coming out. So there's like, those are 3 really good opportunities there to, get some attention for your studios with that. So, that's a little nugget for today's podcast. All right. So we're coming up on 45 minutes, guys. It's been wonderful. Thank you guys for, jumping on, chiming in. Brian and Master Sabia. I still don't know who OWAS 146 is. I wish I could call you out by name. Next time, just give me write down your name so I could type a name in so I can give you a shout out. All right. So with that, everybody that watches this after the live, please get out there and spread the news and like and subscribe. Again, we got to water that Tang Soo tree. So with that, everybody have a phenomenal day. Have a great weekend. New posts will go up Monday. New Tang Soo Tao post will go up Monday. Another instructor post on Wednesday, and another general Tang Soo post on Friday with my first guest, Master Daniel Banner. We got many awesome guests in the queue. And I'm going to grab Master Sabia on here too, and we got a lot of amazing material coming up. So with that, enjoy that. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you in the next podcast.